Welcome to the Realtor for Hoopers podcast.
When I pull up with my dogs, we gon' ball like Swish. No, I ball like. No, I ball like.
All right, welcome to episode 21 of the interview series. Today, our guest is the 2003 Connecticut Gatorade Player of the Year and averaging a healthy 26-11, by the way. I thought that was pretty sick. And I'll let you tell the rest of the story. But Jason Abromatis.
Good to see you, Adam.
How you doing, man? Good. Well, the question we start everyone off with is, tell us your basketball story.
Yeah, I think, I come from a basketball family.
And we got Jason's son running around. So
and here's Tyler with his cleaning his hands. Tyler's got a heck of a jump shot. I grew up with my father having been a very good player at UConn. He was 1,000-point scorer, nearly 1,000 rebound guy there, a little bit of an energy guy.
Yeah.
And growing up in Connecticut it's the only show in town, right? There's no pro sports. Hey, Ty, come here, buddy. Ty, come here. You want to sit on my lap? There we go. So I mean, it was both pressure. I was proud of him, but it was also, I was an overweight kid. I didn't expect to be able to play college basketball, and even my whole sophomore year, I was still a JV player. Did a lot of crazy things, worked really hard. And I remember my junior year, the local paper said, listed me last of all the guys in varsity that I might also get time. And was all-state that year and went on to have, a really nice high school career. Part of that was growing. Part of that was working really hard, sprinting a very steep hill outside my house a lot. And then, I think I was, my brother was more of a natural athlete than I was, but he also was able to kind of watch that and start earlier. I wish I'd started, working that way earlier. And he was able to go play at Notre Dame, be an all Big East player there back when they were in the Big East a couple times, and then go play overseas. My wife.
You got to start the show here.
You're gonna be the star, buddy. And then, my wife played at UConn also, and met her through one of my dad's college roommates and teammates whose daughter played with her. And so, it's just, basketball's kind of been a common thread. Got to play at Yale after high school, and, had a terrific experience. I was just on the phone with several of my college teammates on the way here. I think you can vouch for the friendships you develop on your college team. I think knowing that I wasn't going to be a professional player, wasn't going to be an NBA player, I still was able to really enjoy getting as much out of basketball as I could, and the people that I got to meet along the way, you included.
Yeah, appreciate it. So the second question I have is in Ivy League basketball, there's a lot of stereotypes. So I guess just as a kind of a fun way to go along.
Okay.
What stereotypes of Ivy League basketball are true and which ones are false?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's when I was playing, 4 of the teams were running the Princeton offense. So there were a couple years where we had 8 games. Tyler, come here, buddy. Come here. We had 8 games, playing against the Princeton offense, which means you're sitting on defense for a long time. Scores were low, and there was a lot of really deliberate passing, not a lot of freedom in the way that teams played. I think that's opened up. There's been just, increasing athleticism and ability that's made it to the Ivy League. Part of that has been the changing financial aid packages that have made it more like getting a scholarship. Part of it has been success in the postseason, right? Some of the Ivy League wins in the postseason have made kids realize that, hey, you can have a really good basketball opportunity here. But I think that the thing that I thought was interesting was how much more physical it was in league. I think that's true of all in-conference situations. And then how deep teams were, right? Like there was a lot of teams in the Ivy League have 12 to 15 guys who are all about the same level player, right? They don't have any standouts. And so they go deep and guys go super hard because they only get a few minutes sometimes, and there's somebody ready to relieve them. It cuts both ways in terms of people not getting in a rhythm, but also being able to play really hard. So it's tough to score in league anywhere. it's especially tough to score in league in the Ivy League for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about like conferences and leagues like that is that when there isn't the one guy or two guys per team, it seems like on offense, sorry, on defense, you got to play a little bit even more attention because everyone is a threat versus just everything's keyed off of trying to stop one guy or two guys or thing like that. You know, there's not a lot of, you know, it's just like there's so much action going on. You got to stay engaged every second, you know. So the second question I wanted to ask you about is you come from a very highly competitive and, you know, family. So your dad played in the NBA. Even your wife today was the best player in the country when she came out of school. So what is, like, I guess, tell me a story about family competition, either growing up or today. I mean, that had to just breathe so much when you have athletes to that level. It's just, everything is competitive, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's really nice that, you know, when we do anything fun, that it is competitive, you know, whether it's wiffle ball, ping pong, card games, whatever, you know, everyone's got a little bit of an edge, which makes things more fun for me. I think it makes it more fun for them as well. It's also nice, you know, my wife and I haven't really played much basketball together. The one time we did, I can't remember if it was against you, but she tore her meniscus the one time I ever asked her to play in a men's league with me. But, you know, even like this past summer, playing in a 3-on-3 tournament at the beach with her and the woman that I met her through, and, you know, winning the men's division easily because they don't miss. And I had, you know, one job. It's really nice to be able to enjoy basketball, whether watching, doing, you know, with all my family. So.
Yeah. And I think and probably another benefit of having that type of family too is that you didn't have to, like, you had resources available to you of learn how to work. Like when you get to that level, like it's not just like, hey, you're okay with whatever natural talent you have. You also have to combine that with work, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's funny because I don't know that my dad's understanding of anatomy and physiology is modern. You know, is more of a hold bricks above your head and go running, kind of a Rocky versus Ivan Drago, you know, training mindset. But I think there's value in just being willing to work hard, which is something that you watch around you and you gain from. And then the other part of it is I think he always had a healthy perspective about sports that we want to bring to our kids, and I wish more people would have about their kids' sports. That you know, he was always willing to rebound for us, but we had to tell him, hey, Dad, could you come rebound for it? Right? He was never dragging us to the gym, making sure that it was something we wanted to do.
Got it. Okay.
And I think that's something that's really missing, and a lot of parents are anxious that maybe their kids won't ask them if they make that the rule, rather than, hey, take the chance that they should pursue something they're passionate about.
Yeah. Yep.
No.
Cool. Well, something else you've done is you've built 2 businesses from the ground up. And so, one, I want to hear about those businesses, and 2, like, what do you think is like the biggest lesson that you've learned from that you apply to your, you know, daily life now?
Yeah, so I started a B2B business about 12-ish years ago, I think it was. And, you know, that business started as a very different business than it finished as, and we bootstrapped that, meaning we really took no outside capital. You know, when people sometimes say bootstrapped, I get offended when they when you dig a little bit and they took $500,000 from their family or whatever. That business was one where we were fortunate to have customers before we had a product, so we knew what people wanted. It also was one that was really interesting, watching some of our competitors raise lots of money and seeing, you know, is that the right path, and second guessing our strategy. And I think we managed that really well. We were able to bring on some really talented people along the way. You know, pretending that you're an adult as you're running a business is kind of a first step of like, no one's gonna pick me up. I've got to be the one to make sure that the lights are on, the taxes are paid, the trash is out, what have you. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it, and the accountability that comes from running your own thing. The other aspect of it that I really enjoyed was, I always explain that you can, you know, as you go through your career, you can't necessarily choose all your customers or your clients. And if you're working for somebody else, you can't necessarily choose your coworkers, right? And each of those buckets of people can be frustrating at times. When you start your own business, you at least have some more control over one of those buckets, and who you choose to work with. And so really enjoyed defining the culture from the beginning, and who we brought on as people that we wanted to be around and we were willing to work through hard things with. The second business didn't work out, but learned a ton from that one as we evolved that one as well. And I think we were very, very mature about how we made some decisions that ultimately preserved a lot of capital, and through that made some relationships that I wouldn't trade the experience for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's the whole risk reward of entrepreneurship. Like if you take the step of bootstrapping something and whatever, there's a lot of risk in it, not only from a financial side, but also just like, your daily life and trying to figure out how to build the culture, who to hire, things like that. But if those things do work out, then it's extremely rewarding because you do have that autonomy of who you spend your time with, autonomy of how you spend your schedule, and things like that. So,
well, and I think the fact that it might not work out, everyone thinks that they're special. I remember hearing some podcast at one point where Stuart Butterfield, the founder of Slack, was talking about this blade of grass, out on a golf course, kept telling all the other blades of grass, I'm going to be the one that the golf ball lands on, right? And then the golf ball lands on him, and it's, the golf ball has to land somewhere, right? And some people think that, it worked out for me. I'm the...
we got a bug in here.
We have it's a large cricket. The people who works out for think that they're unique, special. In many ways they are, but there's a good chance that it's not going to work out. And if it works out all the time, in some ways you're not taking enough risk, right? You haven't taken on a challenge that's worth pursuing. And so, if I fast forward 20, 30 years from now, I expect to have started some more businesses. I hope that my batting average is obviously it can't be 1,000 anymore, but I don't want it to be near 1,000. I want to make sure I'm taking enough risk.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think as you kind of have to understand that for something to really be successful sometimes and to really hit, you have to be creative in solving a problem that hasn't been already solved yet. So that creates risk and challenges for you, not only from a skill set, but also what you're trying to do. Yeah. Like if it was an easy 1 + 1 = 2, it had already been solved yet. So if you're trying to start a business, it's already been solved,
Well, and I think, as in the case of Launchpad, the second business, we were trying to solve something that was being solved with a substitute, right? And we thought that we had we were trying to build an at-home smart gym for kids, right? Our thesis was that at the end of the pandemic, all the Peloton type products would struggle, yet kids would still not be able to drive themselves to the gym, right? So we were right on one hand, but we were wrong about what parents were really buying when they're buying training for their kids. They're buying accountability, and then the other part is that while they may hate spending as much as they do, if what you're offering is perceived as slightly worse, that's not what parents want, right?
Yeah.
And parents want the absolute best for their kids, understandably. And so really understanding what people are buying and what they want is, that's part of the fun of it is understanding how people think, how they decide. And I think, if you can enjoy that process of figuring people out, then failure sucks. I'm not going to pretend like it doesn't suck. But I did enjoy parts of it. I can abstract away the things that sucked from the things that didn't.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. Cool. All right. Well, getting back to basketball a little bit. What do you? You've had coaching experience and obviously you've played some high-level basketball and things like that. So my question is, what do you think are the 3 essential roles that every basketball team has to have to be successful?
Yeah, I think starts with you need leadership, right? You need somebody that everybody on the team looks to for guidance and to understand that. And I think it really needs to be not just coaching; it needs to be on court. I think you can have amazing coaches, but if the people on the court don't have somebody that they look to and trust, then I think that's a place where it's not necessarily being the loudest. It's about inspiring trust in others.
Yeah.
I think you need people that are willing to play roles. And I think, you don't need everyone to be a superstar, right? Obviously, you look at whether it's all-star teams or the Olympic team that, sometimes putting 12 of the best scorers out there doesn't work out as well.
Nope.
And I think that those roles need to be defined. I think, that people need to understand what their role is and own that and love it. And then I think you obviously you do need skill, right? You need somebody who can do something that others can't. If you got those things, there's not a lot of teams that do, but I think, sometimes some of those roles can be played by one person, right? The leader and the skill could be the same person, but somehow you've got to fill those 3 buckets.
Yeah, you can't. And so we've all been on teams where it's like on paper where you're like, they're never going to lose because of all the skill they have on that team. But once you actually, there's no chemistry because no guy knows how to work off the ball or has how to set a screen because the screens have always been set for him or all of that. So you got to have the people that are willing to do what a quote unquote the dirty work that every team extremely values and coaches look for. I think even more sometimes than skill, because I think sometimes skill can be taught a little bit more than the desire to I'm just going to shut the other team's best player down. Or I'm just going to get 15 rebounds a game and that's all I'm going to do. It's harder to teach that than it is to teach the skill of being able to knock down a mid-range jumper or whatever, so.
Well, it needs to be, fit within a coherent strategy of how a team's trying to win games, right? I think about, my brother's senior year at Notre Dame, they had an amazing year.
Throw there.
They were a 2 seed going to the NCAA tournament, fighting for a 1 seed down the stretch. And they started 4 guys who were 6'8", and a point guard, and all 5 of them could get the ball over half court. All 5 of them could rebound. And it was, they were all role players who also had skill. Right? So they were filling multiple buckets. They were old, right? They had a lot of leadership. But the other thing that they had going for them was they made it really hard for other teams to figure out how to, so because they're interchangeable, because they can adapt to a role based on who's guarding who, or they can all guard multiple positions, they made it really tough to score against or to stop. And I think, having that idea of here's how we are going to play, here's what we do here, then lets you define what those roles are that you need and where the skill fits.
For sure. Yeah. Cool. Well, the last question I always end everybody with is tell us your favorite thing about basketball. I know it can be hard because you got to pick one thing out of multiple things you love about the game, but what's that one thing that you truly love about the game?
Yeah, I think, I value fairness probably in a way that, it gets me too upset at things that I think are unfair in the world, but I think that basketball is about the closest thing there is to a pretty fair sport, fair thing where what you put in is what you get out. Obviously, there's people who have natural gifts and they don't need to work as hard as others. But I think if you want to be a college basketball player with enough work, there's most likely an opportunity to get there, right? And I think if you want to, be a great high school player, there's ways to get, for the most part, where you want to go. And if you do that work, the things you take from basketball aren't necessarily that you scored a ton of points or whatever. It's that you got to be on teams where you met interesting people who, like-minded hard workers. I've gotten to travel the world because of basketball. I think that very mediocre college player, and I got to do all these things. There's a lot of people who've gotten to do a lot because of basketball, and I think that's invaluable. And then I think kind of coupled with that, what you put in, what you get out, the experiences of understanding a lot of people that are not like you, right? I think you and I have gotten to spend time with people that, absent basketball, we wouldn't have ever encountered, right? We wouldn't have spent time with people who had less. We wouldn't have seen people who had an obsession with basketball in other parts of the world. And I think that that's something that people seek who don't have the tool of the game, but they don't get it as authentically because it's, it's not natural that you walk into an
Yep.
environment that you don't belong in.
Yep. And you don't even need to even speak the same language because you speak the language of basketball, and
Yeah.
you can connect on that. But yeah, that's powerful, man.
Yeah.
Good. Well, Jason, I appreciate the time, sir.
Thank you very much.
Good.
I hope you all enjoyed hanging out with Tyler as well.
Yeah, with Tyler, we'll have stolen the show, but see if we can get him a cameo in the picture here. So, all right.
When I pull up with my dogs, we gon' ball like Swish. No, I ball like. No, I ball like.